Life has a strange way of testing us, pushing us to the edge when we least expect it. I always thought of myself as a strong woman, or at least I used to. I had faced many hardships, but nothing prepared me for what came that year. After losing my husband to a cruel illness and seeing my daughter drift away due to misunderstandings I never knew how to fix, my life felt empty. The weight of loneliness crushed me, and the once familiar routine became an unbearable burden. The nights were the worst. The silence of my house echoed in every corner, turning into a black hole where my hope disappeared. Insomnia became my companion, and memories tortured me without mercy. What had I done wrong? How had I ended up here, in a place where even my reflection felt unfamiliar? My hands, once steady and confident, now trembled under the weight of uncertainty. There came a moment when even breathing felt like a painful effort. Food had lost its taste, and the days dragged on without purpose. I hardly left my house, and when I did, it was only to wander aimlessly, watching happy people who seemed to belong to a world I could no longer access. Time didn't heal anything. Instead, it only deepened the wound I carried in my heart. Then came that fateful night. A cold night, when the pain became unbearable and despair whispered in my ears. I walked without direction, tears falling without me even realizing it. That's when I reached the bridge. I looked at the dark water below, and for the first time, thought that maybe this was the way to end it all. That's when he appeared. I didn't see him arrive, but suddenly he was there. A man of simple appearance, dressed in light colors, with a serene gaze and a smile that radiated an inexplicable peace. He called me by my name, as if he had known me forever, and asked if I needed help. The strange tone of his voice made me hesitate. How did he know who I was? Who was he? My body froze, and part of me wanted to ignore him, to move forward and disappear into the darkness. But something about his presence stopped me. He approached slowly, keeping a respectful distance. There was no judgment in his eyes, only understanding. He told me that we all have moments of pain, that life sometimes feels like it's breaking us, but that there's always something beyond what we can see. The storm never lasts forever, he whispered, and at that moment, I felt a strange warmth wash over me, as if an invisible blanket had wrapped around me. I wanted to ask who he was, where he had come from, but the words got lost amid the tears, streaming down my face. Instead, he spoke about hope, about how every pain carries a lesson, and how there are people in this world who need us, even when we think we have nothing left to give. Your story isn't over yet, he said, and a shiver ran down my spine. For the first time in a long time, I heard words that made sense. Little by little, my breathing steadied. That man, that stranger, had done something no one else could. He made me feel seen, understood, and, in a way, alive again. When I looked back, where once there had only been shadows, now there was a faint light, like a thread of hope being reborn in my heart. That night, I didn't jump. Instead, I sat on the ground by the bridge and talked with that man for hours. He listened as if every word I spoke was precious, as if my pain truly mattered. He didn't offer magical solutions, but he helped me see that my story still had chapters left to be written. He spoke about love that, even from a distance, never fades, and about the power of starting over. With each sentence, my mind seemed to open to something new. I realized that the pain I felt didn't have to be the end, but a turning point. When I finally felt ready to go home, he smiled and said something I will never forget. You were never alone. I've always been here, waiting for you to see me. My skin prickled, and a chill ran down my spine. What did he mean? When I turned to thank him, he was gone. The place was empty, as if he had never been there. I looked around, but there was no one. The cold night air felt less biting, and the city, once somber and oppressive, seemed to have gained new colors. My heart pounded in my chest, confused, yet filled with a peace I hadn't felt in years. That's when I understood. This man wasn't just a stranger. He was something more. An angel? A guardian? Or perhaps just a manifestation of the love I had refused to see. I can't say for sure. But what I do know is that after that night, I was never the same again. In the days that followed, something inside me began to change. Slowly, I opened the windows of my house and let the light in. I called my daughter for the first time in months, and to my surprise, she answered. We cried together, exchanging words that had been buried for too long. For the first time in ages, I felt hope. The reconciliation was slow, but real. I started taking care of myself again, noticing the small beauties of life. I walked through streets I had once avoided, smiled at strangers, and began to realize that somehow I still had a purpose. That's when I decided to help others who, like me, had lost their way in the darkness. I sought out support groups, began writing about my experience, and little by little, I found a new meaning in my existence. Every small step felt like proof that my journey was far from over. And every night before sleeping, I whispered a thank you to that mysterious man in light-colored clothes. My guardian angel, my savior. Time has passed, and today I look back with gratitude. I don't know who that man was, nor if he truly existed as I saw him. But I do know that in some way, he saved my life. Maybe angels don't have wings or appear as we imagine, but they show up exactly when we need them the most, in ways we don't always understand. Life will continue to test us, but now I know I am never truly alone. There is always an invisible force guiding us, waiting for us to be ready to see it. And when we finally do, life shines in unexpected ways.